Facebook forsakes friends and family to compete with TikTok, and American Express reports increased consumer spending in one major category. Hi, my name is Kyle Stout, founder of Elevate and Scale, and we help ecom brands scale their growth through email marketing. Welcome to the first episode of Elevated Ecom News, where I cover the top news stories each day that impact ecom business owners. Now let's get into it. Okay, so the first story here, Facebook forsakes friends and family to compete with TikTok. So I'm sure you've noticed lately, if you've been spending time on Facebook, if you're one of the people who still uses Facebook, that you don't see as many posts from friends and family as you used to, and you see a lot more posts from business pages and the different groups that you're in. This is something that Facebook's been doing over time, but now it looks like they're going to be ramping that up even more, and it looks like they're really trying to compete with the attention that TikTok is getting, especially with their short form video content. So one thing about TikTok, as it's grown in popularity extremely fast, is that TikTok has completely changed the way that people consume video content online, to the point where now if you aren't making this short form, really attention grabbing type of content, it's really hard to stand out even on the other platforms like Instagram and Facebook. And I remember at the beginning of 2022, there was this some research that had been released that showed that TikTok got more traffic in 2021 than Google, which is insane, because for anyone who's been doing any kind of online business for a long time, then you know that Google has pretty much always been the king of search engines. Between Google and YouTube, they pretty much always dominate the search traffic. And yes, Facebook and Amazon and some other sites, do get a lot of search traffic, but nowhere to the level that Google has. So to see that amount of traffic flowing through TikTok is insane, especially considering how, relatively young TikTok is. So what it looks like here is that, and I'm sure you've probably noticed this if you've been on Instagram, and even YouTube, whenever you first log in, what you see when you first log in is starting to resemble the timeline that you see on TikTok, where you immediately have short form video that takes up the full screen, and you just scroll down and you see video after video recommended to you by the algorithm. And that's something I've noticed, where it's kind of inconsistent, where sometimes I'll open those apps and it gives that, and then sometimes it goes to the normal feed that it normally would. And it looks like Facebook is going to be heavily prioritizing that, where your default screen is going to just have these short form videos that take up the full screen, and you scroll down kind of like the experience you have on Instagram Reels. And then you're going to have a separate tab called the Feeds tab, where that's where you'll see posts from your friends and family and favorite pages. So this could potentially be good news for a lot of ecom businesses, especially if you've built up a pretty big following, or if you've spent a lot of time and dedicated a lot of money and energy into Facebook, and you've watched a lot of the value decrease over the last several years as people have shifted their attention to other platforms, and also as Facebook has required you to pay more and more just to get your own followers to see your content. This could be something where, assuming that you're putting out short form video content, that you actually get a chance to get more exposure again. And this could be kind of like the early days of Facebook and the early days of Instagram, where the algorithm just really rewarded new content and made it a lot easier to get discovered by new people, similar to how people are finding that on TikTok right now. So if you're already producing short form content, then at this point you definitely want to start posting that on Facebook, just to see what the algorithm is going to give you. So we don't really know yet if it's going to be as generous as the TikTok algorithm is right now in terms of reaching new audiences and reaching new people. But given the competitiveness between the different tech platforms right now, and the fact that you have Facebook and Amazon and Apple and Google all fighting for dominance of online traffic, and also just to be in our homes and fighting for, devices. It's really about who has the ecosystem, where you spend the most time in their ecosystem. so that they can either sell you products or they can sell advertising depending on their business model. And I think that they're going to be aggressive and they're going to want to pull back market share, because one thing you're seeing right now is YouTube, with YouTube Shorts, they've gotten very aggressive with being pretty generous with the exposure that you can get through YouTube Shorts. So a lot of content creators are getting, and even content creators that have been around for a while on YouTube are seeing that they're getting way more views and way more traction with their shorts than they are from the videos that they put a lot of time and effort and money into, because YouTube saw what was happening with TikTok, and they want to, of course, be the dominant video platform. And we all know that TikTok is really going for everything. So we don't have all those features here in America, but over in China, they have a more advanced version of TikTok, which kind of gives us a preview of the type of features that we're going to get later. And they're definitely going for long-form video content, as well as shopping and other experiences that we don't really have on TikTok yet. So there's definitely this battle for video content, because video content has really taken the top spot in terms of online content consumption. So I think that while some of these different battles between the tech companies, for example, Apple versus Facebook, and the battles over privacy and how that's had a negative impact on ads, I think that a lot of these things are actually going to be a positive, because the competition to just get more attention on the platform and more engagement means that they need content creators. So they need you putting out content. And right now, Facebook they do have a track record of being very aggressive in trying to acquire or take out their competitors. And I think that they are going to unleash the algorithm and be more generous. And for not that it necessarily is a requirement to have a bigger following, I think that the brands who have built up a strong following on Facebook will get to hit the ground running a little bit faster. So for the brands who, maybe you've been kind of concerned over the last year or so because Facebook isn't what it once was, this could be an opportunity to where now you actually get to reap more rewards again from the time and energy and money that you've invested into building your brand on Facebook. So this to me is a good sign. It's going to be very interesting to watch this play out, especially as we see this, because of course this whole experience, I imagine, is going to transfer over to Instagram as well. So to see this battle between the Meta platforms, YouTube Shorts, and then TikTok, is going to be interesting. I know that what I personally will be doing, and what a lot of the business owners I work with will be doing, is honestly just recording very similar content, just repurposing content that you would have recorded, maybe let's just say recorded it for TikTok and repurposing it for the other platforms. And so, what does that mean as far as that much repeat content going out to all the platforms? I'm not really sure yet. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out. Okay, so the other news headline that caught my attention this morning that is very interesting for e-commerce business owners specifically is because American Express released their Q2 earnings last week, and they actually noticed that consumer spending was up, at least amongst their cardholders. But there's kind of a caveat there, in that the main category where consumer spending is up was for travel. So this has been interesting because the ecom world has dramatically changed from 2020 to this point forward. And I think one of the problems I'm seeing with a lot of the business owners that I work with is that they didn't fully appreciate and realize how unique 2020 was, and 2021 even, but especially 2020, in that they saw tremendous growth from 2020 through 2021 because so many people, especially early in 2020 when everyone was on the computer and everyone just got sent home, and now everyone's doing Zoom and everyone's on their computer, and the amount of online content consumption exploded to a point that had never been before. And because people couldn't get out of their homes, they couldn't go travel, they couldn't go do a lot of things where they would normally spend their money in other areas, like going out to eat and going out to bars and traveling and that kind of stuff. they just filled in the gap of the money they would have spent on those things. They started buying more stuff. And we noticed this where ecom sales were exploding during that time. And another thing that I noticed was that a lot of times when the stimulus checks would go out, we would see bumps in sales on Shopify dashboards across all the brands we were working with, which I thought was very interesting. Obviously, a lot of people needed that money for bills and other things, but then again, a lot of people, it was just extra spending money for them, and all of that stimulus led to a boom in e-commerce sales. And even in 2021, when travel restrictions weren't quite as strict as they were in 2020, you still had a lot of people either just cautious about traveling, or they just didn't want to deal with a lot of the stress and hassles of traveling with extra restrictions. And there was less flight availability, and there were just a lot of reasons that people just weren't traveling as much. And a lot of those, even though it wasn't quite what 2020 was, a lot of the brands we were working with, they did even better in 2021. But again, I don't think they fully appreciated that this was a window of time where it's a huge opportunity for e-commerce. And for a lot of brands, the summer tends to be kind of a lull in sales because people are traveling and they're getting out and they're doing stuff, and the kids are home and they're just not filling in. They're just not getting as much fun and pleasure from shopping as they are from spending their money on other things. And then usually, of course, that starts to turn back around in the fall, and of course we have all the holidays and the shopping season and all of that. So one thing I think right now, at least something that we're focusing on, is there's always going to be things you can't control. So one thing we're really focusing on is dialing in your VIP customers, looking at your best customers and giving them some extra love. Because one thing that we're seeing when we get into the analytics is that whether a brand's total sales are down or not, we're noticing that most of the revenue is coming from a smaller segment of more loyal buyers within their entire email list. So we do email marketing and SMS, so I'm always looking at things from the perspective of looking at their customer database as far as who's subscribed to their emails and how they're behaving. So we're noticing that the VIP buyers are more than making up for the decrease in consumption from a lot of the regular buyers. So I think part of it is because ad costs have gone up tremendously. Inflation is going crazy, so people just don't quite have as much money to spend. So a lot of those impulse purchases that really drives paid media success have been drying up. Now, of course, people still are making impulse purchases, but it's just not quite what it was. And we're finding that in a lot of cases, the VIP buyers are actually spending more, which is interesting. And I think part of that is also because a lot of brands are getting kind of desperate for sales and are doing more promotions than they normally would. And a lot of the people who still have some extra money to spend, or they just really love that particular brand, they're spending more with that brand. So that's something that we're looking at going forward. Obviously, if you are in the travel space at all, this is great news for you. So all the brands that are selling, anything, travel accessories, travel gear, clothing, all that kind of stuff, anything related to travel, even beyond just products. This is obviously great news. It's a huge industry. It's a fun industry. So it's definitely good to see that travel and entertainment both are having a good rebound. So, but for other e-commerce brands, this is a time where if you're starting to see sales aren't quite what they were, you got to remember if you're comparing to 2020 and 2021, there's a certain percentage of those sales that was just kind of, great timing and luck because of the overall macro economy and what was going on in the world. So I wouldn't freak out too much, and I would really start to, dig into your numbers and look at where your strongest buyers are and to see if you can give them a little extra love and possibly, generate some more revenue out of those folks for now until we kind of get back to a more normal, dated, who knows what normal is going to be because we're on the verge of a recession and, no one really knows how long that's going to last, but it's definitely going to be a very interesting holiday season. So Okay, that's it for the first episode. This format will likely change and evolve over time. Again, this is just the first swing of things. So really the purpose here is, my goal is to just to take the big, let's say 2 to 5 headlines that are going to impact e-com business owners, and just give you a quick, I'm already at 15 minutes now, but a quick like 10-minute video summary of what's going on, what it means for you, maybe give some insights on some things that we're doing or how we're evaluating this information, helping our clients grow their businesses, and to just be a good resource to save you time from having to search headlines, and just bring the quick summaries to you every day, so you have one quick resource to get news that impacts you. So if you enjoyed this content, then please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll be coming back every weekday with more videos like this. Thanks for watching. Bye.